Hi friends, it's Caitlin and welcome back to the Floating Rock podcast. I hope you're having the most incredible day ever. So today, another one of the fun conversations I ended up having on my trip was with a friend, and we were talking about discipline, and I'm like, how have I not done an episode about discipline yet? Like, oh my god, like that's just so up my alley, you know? And, I'm thinking like, okay, I want to do an episode about discipline, but not just like discipline. I think like I love when podcasts have like a specific route that they're taking with a topic, it just makes it more original and interesting, whatever. So I have a theory that is probably the title of this episode, but I've been recently thinking, I don't know if it's like not brainwashy, that's not the right word, but like I have this like, I've been like observing Mel Robbins recently, and I don't listen to a ton of her stuff. I haven't recently, but she has like just this air to her topics and whatever that are just very like, she almost keeps her secrets in like what her topics are about, but like her titles are really big, like these 5 things will change your fucking life, and I'm like, okay Mel, like it better. But it is interesting to me because I'm like, well, I would click on that, so I'm like, I don't know, I'm testing out my like stuff, who knows, guys. But if you're here, you're in on it with me. So if for some reason out of the blue my titles start being like 5 ways to be more disciplined, you heard it here first. But anyway, I guess I'll say it really quickly right now in case I don't title it this. My theory here, and then I'm going to talk about this entire episode, is that the key to discipline is enjoyment. Let's start off, I love to define things. So the actual definition of discipline, but actually like self-discipline, because when you look up discipline, the internet is like the act of like telling your child what to do, like more in that kind of discipline. I'm like, no, self-discipline is technically the word. It means the ability to control one's feelings and overcome one's weaknesses, the ability to pursue what one thinks is right despite temptations to abandon it. So basically to do what you say you're going to do and to like not be tempted in another direction. Usually it means the easier route, the comfier route, all that kind of stuff. And I think overall too, just like discipline as a whole, I think that like people are and aren't disciplined for like millions of reasons. Like personally, I think after doing a little bit of research as well, and just from like interactions with people throughout life, from what I've noticed is the people that I know who are better with discipline and who enjoy it more and whatever, who find comfort in discipline and routine, those people usually, and according to the internet as well, like your upbringing usually also reflects that. If you had like a decently stable upbringing and there was routine and there was consistency, whereas people who maybe moved around a ton or maybe just had like more different kind of chaotic childhoods, they don't find as much peace and like comfort, I guess is the word, in routine and discipline. So I think that's like one really, really big thing is like I have a friend who like sometimes when life gets too repetitive and too routine, they're like, oh my god. And then that can happen to anyone too. But anyway, I think that your relationship to discipline can also be tracked fully back to your childhood and your upbringing. So take this whole episode with whatever grains of salt that you want. But that is something interesting to keep in mind. And like personally, I had a very stable upbringing, so it makes a lot of sense that I am a decently disciplined person and find a lot of enjoyment in routine and like doing the same things at the certain day and at the certain time and that kind of stuff. I find it comforting. I will also say, personally, huge advocate of this one. I feel like the sports and like hobbies that you grew up doing play a huge factor in the discipline that you end up having as like an adult or like a young adult, if you will. Like personally too, as someone who did, I consider them to be more solo sports, like any sort of martial art and dance. Like I did karate growing up, I now do Muay Thai, but to me those are very individual sports where what you put in, you get directly back out to you. Whereas I think on like more team sports, you all are working towards a goal. And I think there's also a lot of really good things about doing team sports as well, developmentally. But most of my friends all grew up doing some sort of sport or something. And I feel like you can really see how a lot of the time, especially like how committed you are to it. And, maybe even what kind of sport it is, how much that affects your levels of discipline in a way. Like, for example, in karate, like I would enter competitions and stuff, and like every once in a while there'd be like a little bit of like a team sort of sector, but usually you're doing it alone. If you do good, you get rewarded for that. If you don't, you don't. When you improve, it doesn't help the team, it just helps you. Similarly in dance, even though you do big group numbers and stuff, you only move up in the ranks of those numbers. You get put in better lines or you get solos or all that kind of stuff by only improving yourself. But yeah, that's my little spiel on sports. A thought I had too, that I was like, perhaps a misconception on my end about discipline. I would say, yes, I, Caitlin, am a disciplined person. If there were 2 buckets, I would not put myself in the not disciplined bucket, right? Let's just say that, right? Curious what you think. Would you put yourself in the disciplined bucket or the non-disciplined bucket if there were just 2 and you had to commit to one? However, I realized that there are things I'm not disciplined at. And I think that we just see discipline as this all-encompassing trait. And I feel like, I don't know, there's a time, maybe there's a world where that's a little bit of a barrier to entry to discipline as a trait, if that makes sense. Like, I wonder if sometimes people who are teetering in and out of the bucket of discipline, if they almost feel like they can't quite call themselves that because they're not disciplined at every single thing in their life. And realistically, if I really take toll of everyone that I know in this entire world, the people who I know are disciplined do have things that they're not disciplined at. And I think that's kind of what led me to like the realization of this episode, if you will, is most of the time, like, we can be disciplined at things, but usually it's the things of our choice. So therefore, title probably of this episode, or big theme, is that the key to discipline is enjoyment. And basically I just kind of realized that I call myself a disciplined person because I think I have these categories of things in life that I'm disciplined at. And, you know, I'd say that they're like more popular things to be disciplined at. So like if I tell someone like, oh, I'm consistent in the gym, I like to consistently eat healthy, I think those are like quote unquote like popular things to be disciplined at. Therefore, like, it's more well understood and like glorified in a way, I guess. But there are plenty of things that I'm not, like I just said. And basically I realized that when it comes to for example, going to the gym / like working out, eating healthy, the podcast, like, these are all things that I'm disciplined at, but I find enjoyment in them. And obviously there are days at the gym that are a little harder. And obviously there are days with the pod where I'm like racking my brain for ideas, like, oh my God, like I have no clue what to talk about. But at the end of the day, there is some form of way of enjoyment that I get out of this, or that I've made it enjoyable for myself. For example, another friend of mine, she, in her journey of becoming more consistently active, she realized that she's actually going to succeed more at being disciplined and consistent by not doing the gym and lifting weights every day, but more so doing like yoga sort of things and like having a very different sort of split and more movement like that as well incorporated than just the gym. And so I think something I even talked about last episode, I think it was last episode, 2 episodes ago, about how the Health and Wellness Awards and like what's going to work for you is realistically just what you enjoy and what you find joy out of. So like if I was forcing myself to run and be consistent at running, I could never do it. I would never be a disciplined runner because as of right now, there's not much that I enjoy about running, and it would take an actual shift in my brain to be like, okay, it would be something I do at sunset and it's really pretty, and then I'd have to romanticize it and make it something I truly enjoy. And so the other example of things I'm not disciplined at are cleaning. I'm not the most clean person in the world. I'm not horrible. I always out myself about this on the pod, but truly, like, the amount of times I make jokes about like my room being a mess, it's something I'm not disciplined at. Or meditation, as much as I want to be a meditation girly and I know it would help my anxiety, not disciplined at it. I've tried. Stretching, like yoga on my own time, not disciplined at it. I try, I fail. I think it's because I don't find as much joy in those things, in the act of doing it, in the output of doing it. For example, like the room thing. Like, I think that obviously I find a lot of joy in having a clean room, but I feel like it doesn't change my life enough for me to be like, oh my God, I need to do this. Which leads me to my next point. There are 2 sides of a coin, you know? There is love and hate, good and bad. To me, there is joy and fear. Think about skydiving. You feel both. Fear, 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 fear. Jump out, joy, 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 right? And so I think that obviously I am not going to come on the Floating Rock podcast and tell you guys to fear more things, to be more disciplined. That's not the way that we work here. Definitely a way of doing things. Like, I feel like that's more of like a man way to think of like, I need to fear being unhealthy more, so I like work out more. I'm like, you do that. But that's not my vibe. So I just thought this was really interesting to think about as well, about how enjoying things and like the fear of things actually like really does intersect a lot when it comes to discipline. So on the note of fear, not only do I enjoy working out, eating healthy, podcasting, I also have an attached fear related to them. I fear not being active. I fear not feeling good. Like Like personally, I've gotten to the point of like, if I eat things that aren't terribly good for me, I don't feel good after. I've gotten to the point of when I'm too sedentary or whatever, when I don't move, that I don't feel good. So it's come to a point where I now fear the opposite outcome. The podcast, I'm like, realistically, it's on social media. People are watching me. Even if it's just like random people who don't even listen to the pod, they're clocking my shit on my story every week. And there's a fear there of like, well, I've been consistent and committed and I'm doing it in front of a bunch of people. So there's a fear of like, well, if I don't do it, then I'm not following through and being consistent. Fear. And then same with, I think the things that you're not consistent with, I feel like there's a world where you just don't fear the lack of the outcome enough. Having like a more messy room hasn't like messed with me so bad. Like I can like move through my life with that. It definitely makes the state of my life better when it's clean and stuff, but it doesn't like, it's not detrimental. Or for example, like I'm fine not meditating. Like I'm pretty cool. Would it definitely like up the quality of my life? Probably. But I don't fear the non-meditative part of myself enough to meditate every day. And then the same with like the stretching. I'm like, I haven't hurt myself to the point of being like, oh my God, I'm scared of what I would be like if I wasn't stretching enough. And, you know, I stretch like a little bit at the gym every time, but not like a full yoga session, like full body, whatever. So I just think that too, there definitely are two sides of the coin when it comes to discipline, that yes, you need to find enjoyment in the things that you're being disciplined at. There needs to be some form of joy, or you need to make it enjoyable for yourself and like change what it is you actually are doing, if that makes sense. Like the doing different kinds of workouts so that you actually find joy in it, maybe cooking different kinds of healthy foods so that you actually find enjoyment in it, so on and so forth. But yeah, I do think there is fear attached for the positive and the negative. So my thought here kind of is like, okay, we have learned our lesson. To be consistent, you need to find joy, and there's also going to be a little bit of fear involved in a way. So what do we do about that? Number one, I would say find a specific thing, and I'm going to challenge myself to do this as well. My one thing I wish I did more was I wish I like, if I've spilt it a few times. Normally I record the day before I post. I wish I did it more ahead of time so I could like test out the things I tell you guys before reporting. Usually I'll tell you guys something and then be like, okay, I'm going to implement that. But my challenge for you is going to be to find something specific that you want to be more disciplined at. And the challenge here is to either shift it, change it to make it more enjoyable for yourself, or to find the joy in it. Sometimes things are perfectly fine and we just choose to like not have the best mindset about it. I think personally mine will be, let's call mine stretching. I think that couldn't hurt. I'm going to a dance class tonight, and surely I've been off my stretching game a little bit, so surely I will be feeling that. So my example of this will be, I think I just have a hard time like doing stretching more casually and stuff. Like I kind of like to have a full moment. Like that's how I romanticize it in my head, is there's a candle lit, there's music playing, fun. And I just don't do it. So I think that's my example of making it more enjoyable, is maybe attaching it to my night routine as a way of winding down and making that moment for myself. Maybe making some tea, having it on the side, listening to music, lighting a candle, like giving it a full moment instead of being like, you need to stretch, do a lunge in your room. For example as well, for so long I wanted to read. I hated reading for so long. Number one, the things I was reading I hated, like school things and whatever. Like I also like, I don't like to watch serious things, and I don't like to read serious things. So my multiple ways of making it more enjoyable for myself, because realistically I was just like, I don't want to be on my phone right before I go to sleep. It's not good. So the way that I made that more enjoyable for myself was getting a Kindle. It made it more accessible. It made it easier. It just overall made the entire process of reading a lot easier and more enjoyable, that I didn't have to like hold it open and I can just kind of like roll around in my bed like it's an iPad. And secondly, choosing to read things that I can just digest better. As of right now, guys, I think I'm on the last book of this like stupid little hockey romance series. It's stupid, but sometimes I kick my feet. I'm like, you better. And at the end of the day, I now read. So yay. And then I also think another way of doing this too is kind of like I said, this fear aspect. There's a world too where you just force yourself to do something enough where you now fear yourself without it. Like I can see a world where if I forced myself to meditate enough times, that I would find a lot of peace and mental stability, and then I would fear who I am without it. So there's a lot of different ways I think to go about giving yourself discipline about certain things, but that's kind of my overall thought of today. I definitely, like, while doing research for this episode, I want to do another episode about discipline as well in like a different way, But I think overall here, if there's something you want to be disciplined at, number one, you probably are a disciplined person. And a lot of the time we just choose what we are disciplined at because we like certain things and we don't like doing other certain things. Like, was I disciplined at math homework? No. Was I disciplined about my writing homework? Yes. It's simple. We do things that we want to do. And I think you see all these people who are like, I'm disciplined. I'm at the gym every day, even when it's hard. The alphas, if you will. Number one, they say it's hard. Yes, there are days that are hard, but at the end of the day, there is some sort of enjoyment that they find in it. Someone who fucking hates the gym is not at the gym. Even if their enjoyment of it / fear is just they fear so bad of like not looking their best or something, but there is some sort of like motivator, fear or enjoyment there for everyone, no matter how hard that they say it is, if that makes sense. So if there's something that you really, really reject and you really want to be a part of your life, don't look at people who are like, it is hard, but I still do it, because realistically they have found a way to enjoy it to some extent, and or they fear it enough. And I think the beautiful thing about discipline at the end of the day and further down the road is that it no longer is discipline, it's just lifestyle and it's how you live your life. And I think that's really, really cool. And it's fun to kind of frame it in this, I think discipline feels more goal oriented. It feels more achievable than just like changing my life. But I think that's a beautiful thing. And it's, when you do something for long enough, it's not like, oh, I need to stay disciplined, like 75 hard. I need to stay disciplined within these 75 days. It just becomes like, oh no, like if I'm not even hungry and I already kind of had something sweet today, I actually don't need the sweet treat, or, stuff like that. It doesn't even become like, oh, gotta go to the gym today. It just becomes like, oh, and time to go to the gym because that's what I do and I like what I do. Overall, guys, I think discipline's really cool. And I don't know, I like it. I like being able to stick to what you say you're going to do. And it's a fun personal challenge. And it's very important as well, like I just said, to not compare yourself to other people. And your discipline journey is not going to be like anybody else's. Like I mentioned in the very beginning, it could even be traced back to how you were raised, and you surely can't change that. But I believe in you, whatever you want to be disciplined at. I totally think you can do it. There's so many different avenues to become a disciplined person. Realistically, you are a disciplined person, and then there are just categories that you want to be more disciplined at. But yeah, I think super fun. We love to grow. We are entering spring. I need to do a spring episode soon. Sorry guys, I totally blueballed you like 3 weeks ago, but we're going into spring. This is the season of growth and blooming. Hopefully you were planting some seeds this winter of, things that you want to blossom about this spring, but it's a very exciting season to be growing into your best self and learning new things and just like living your best life, because that is always the point of this podcast. Live your best life. Be kind to others. You know the gist. Follow the pod at flowing.rock.podcast. Subscribe on YouTube. Rate the pod on Spotify. I'll love you forever. Yeah, I think that's it. Peace and love and peace. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.